Guys, it's very welcome on our videocast on the HFS Awards sections. And you guys, congratulations, you won the awards for native automation. And just to make you even more proud, it's more the lack of competition. Actually, native automation was the most oversubscribed category. I believe we had around 17 entries. So you won by merit. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So a big thank you and for participating, but even more so, a big congratulations. And Avesh, perhaps you, and I can introduce you quickly, Avesh Godase, I hope I pronounced it reasonably correct, Senior Vice President and Section Head in DNB, one of the banks out of Norway. Could you just talk us through what was the goal of the project and the collaboration with TCS? That would be a great starting point.
Yeah, thanks first and foremost for inviting me over here. It's a privilege and of course quite happy that the collaboration between DNB and TCS has been chosen as the winner in this section. Quite happy, but at the same time it also adds responsibility on where we stand and how we move forward. But just to give a quick recap, TCS has been a strategic partner throughout this journey. Initially, they were in the application phase, but we also entrusted them to take on the infra space of us while they were into the sort of end-to-end value chain of the IT operations work in DNB. We also had to sort of reinstate how we run the operations in a stable manner together. One important thing in the whole milestone was how do we monitor our environment? That's the first thing. And then, of course, how do we react to situations? Because when we avoid a lot of noise by downtime, then we get enough bandwidth to do things to change the organization. So it was sort of what do we do first? But then we actually started working with both what DNB wanted, but TCS had their COE, Center of Excellence. They brought in the thoughts of what it looks in the industry, how we can really move forward fast in terms of monitoring and automation. Then, of course, we had to consolidate our tooling solution that we had in DNB, use the knowledge from TCS and dive into the journey. It's not always easy when it is the overall organization that you are trying to drive towards an objective. Then we have to really get people on board. Not everyone comes with the same understanding, but then it's sort of a sprint and then a marathon, I should say. So what we have done is a sprint and we are in the race of marathon right now. It doesn't end. So you can never say that you have completed the automation journey. Things are changing rapidly and we need to evolve and continue to be in line with that. But at least we have set the base. We have done the sprint and then we are set for the marathon, which is good. Together with TCS, I believe we would ensure there's a difference made when we complete the whole marathon at some point.
That's great. And I think marathon, I think that's the most perfect segue for Antony. I can introduce Antony, I'll pronounce it correctly, Gnanaraj. Okay, smiling. I think I'm getting better.
No, that's correct. That's correct.
I'm not sure everybody knows, but TCS and Gnanaraj is the infrastructure service delivery management head for TCS. TCS is sponsoring a lot of marathons, so it's a perfect segue talking about TCS in that context. But joking aside, Antony, I couldn't help listening to Avesh. He was talking a lot of the automation, and I think the complexity, especially as we move into cloud native, there's so many things. If we are honest, there's a new complexity. We always think cloud is its simplicity. I think managing that, what's coming complexity. Can you just talk a little bit some of what brings TCS to the table, to the equation? I know at times it's not just the issues we know. I think we have to get our head around the issues we don't fully understand and know. So it's not just standardization, but then also just the complexity. Can you just talk a little bit what you feel TCS brought to that equation?
Yes, thanks.
All out from that collaboration.
Sure. Thanks, Tom, and thanks HFS for recognizing this thing. And as Avesh has alluded to, and the complexity, we have just started the race, and as Avesh rightly put, we have just completed the sprint. Now the buzzword in the industry is more about modernizing, digital, and then velocity of delivery. So the entire backbone is about automation. And when it comes to automation, it can be done in any ways. And that is the thought process, the mindset change of what we are doing today and how do we actually put the engineering mindset to actually look into how we can automate. the entire complexity of this automation lies upon how do we see from where do we see. As Avesh rightly pointed out, saying that the monitoring tools actually, how do we integrate that and how do we actually take the corrective actions? That is one angle. And then when we move into application, how we can actually automate the application so that all your deployments are automated, and then all your products, the enhancement of products or the velocity of product delivery is improved. And that is the whole world is in. So TCS brought kind of the wider knowledge where we have actually done in many places where we have done in application area, where in infrastructure area, we brought that kind of a knowledge here, base here for DNB. And we were able to actually see how the use case was fitting for DNB's requirement. And that was the major success, I can say. And Avesh rightly pointed as well, the low-hanging fruits, which we are able to automate quickly, and then also with various stakeholders involved and with various environments, we were able to move ahead in this journey. And going forward, the roadmap is also very green, saying that how do we automate more and more so that we reduce the manual efforts, reduce the human errors, and then also improve the efficiency. And that is the main goal for both the organization, and that is how we are able to move forward in this.
No, thanks for that, Anthony. And coming back to you, Avesh, I think, if I listen to practitioners like yourself, one of the biggest issues, challenges, always driving that change. And given from the sound of it, you managed a lot of progress. If you sort of look back, I think if you would have to start the project or the collaboration all over again, what would you do differently? Not so much, I think, but what I'm trying to get to, what are the learnings coming out of your collaboration?
I think one important aspect is sort of communication channel. Today, people are used for so many different communication channels. We struggle, but we can't get rid of it. What is really important is to reach out to everyone, to tell them what's happening, because this is one thing that touches everyone. And I think one positive thing spreads to another positive and people get hooked into it. So I think being a bit more digital, like the whatever Gen Z people like to do, right? Go into multiple platforms to be connected. That's exactly happens in the corporate world. Also, we have multiple ways that we connect to each other. I think, and of course, being the COVID time also taught us that while people are not in office, the common coffee chats and connects doesn't happen. Then you really need to use the digital channels to reach out to people. I think one thing that I would definitely use is even more communication that we have done, because that is what makes people aware of what's happening, because awareness is as important as we go out and deliver, because not everyone has the same priority, right? They don't understand the outcome, but we definitely know centrally that that adds value. And at some point that will make their life easier. So I think communication is a key aspect when you drive such large programs, and using almost all channels to reach out to the people. And not thinking that everyone is at the same level, right? The maturity level differs. For example, in DNB, one of the other change has also been the way we operate as an organization. We have moved from the sort of the waterfall agile model to a more DevOps operating model with autonomous team. And that even increases the complexity, right? You have multiple sections of people who are sort of isolated while they're connected in some sense. Then the reach is even more important. And then that's the reason I keep saying communication, I think, is a key, which I possibly will use a lot more if you have to move in further into what we are doing today.
No, thanks. Great insight, Avesh. And Anthony, in your direction, similar question, slightly different worded. What surprised you? What were the positive, negative things you didn't expect on your journey with DNB? But again, in the context more, what are the learnings coming out of that?
Yeah, there were quite a lot of learnings, and that definitely in any project there will be definitely a lot of learnings. And for me here, the main thing is like about the different meeting the stakeholders' expectation, as Avesh also slightly touched upon. When we moved from the traditional way of operating, waterfall way of operating, into more agile, the entire responsibility and ownership and the entire thing lies with the product or the family. And now they run the own way they wanted to run. And the important thing is like, how do we understand the requirement? How do we create that awareness of what needs to be done? How do we articulate that in a right manner? And how do we amplify that? And that is something which I've learned here. And this is based on my experience with major working across with different organizations as well, and working across different banking sectors. This is always a challenge. because meeting customers or meeting one's particular section's expectation is very different and from another, and we need to actually manage that expectation management is a really different challenging one. And then the technical requirements, it's kind of a always it's unique for each project based on the platform, and DNB being a bank which has been kind of acquired a lot of things, we had the same challenges again, but we were able to actually kind of create that visibility. Transparency is one thing, which communication is one thing which Avesh has done, then the transparency is another thing. How do we actually create this transparency between two organizations and between different families? And that gives the confidence for the end user or the business, saying that, okay, guys, these guys are transparent, they're able to bring that forward, they're able to articulate it rightly, and then we can amplify it together.
No, thanks, great insights. And just to close us out, Avesh, what would your piece of advice be organization who are looking to at similar issues you just described and trying to get on that journey? What's is top of mind of piece of advice to similar organizations?
I think one thing is everyone has to really balance out in terms of solutions. I could say one thing. Of course, I have a liking to a couple of solutions, but it does not fit the whole sort of environment that you operate, and more so when people are modernizing. I think what we need to really do is have bare minimum. We have a consolidated solution, central solution that can operate majority of it, and then you look at the isolated solutions where you definitely need some specialized tools or solutions to work and integrate it, because one, we build up a monster of the whole AI automation. And if we are not able to manage it at some point with distributed solution, it's madness in terms of how you can do it. So early in the stage, if you really look long term, consolidate and figure out the right solutions and sort of have an integration and good track, then it's easier to manage as you modernize or change, because that's an important aspect we have seen, because DNB is in a journey of modernizing. We're getting rid of a lot of historic old solutions, including mainframe, which means we need to really know what we have done to get away from it and modernize it. So I think that's one piece of advice I would always say, because if it is late in the game, then you already done so much of effort, then you just need to run with it.
No, great advice. And Antony, from your point of view, what's your piece of advice to similar organization or even potential customers for TCS?
So there is a thing, they need to have the strategic vision. Basically, that's the fundamental thing, and that is more aligned with Avesh was also saying, lay the foundation so that the foundation is clear. So today in the digital world, there are a lot of buzzwords which are coming in and everyone is attracted towards that, but create your strategy very clear, how that strategy going to be, and then define the approach, and then you can actually move it. Technology is just a medium. At the end, we can actually kind of deliver it unless you have the clear vision of what you wanted to achieve. And that is my view or my message to the enterprise.
Guys, thanks so much for your insight. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, but also I hope we get an opportunity to meet face to face, because just listening to you, almost abundance wells of experience and insight. So hopefully we get a chance to put the worlds to right. So big thank you and big congratulations on your awards again. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, HFS.